rated M for mature.
Who are you counting on?
Hey.
Who are you leaning on? Who are you counting on?
Hey.
So, whoa. Hey, they tryna block all my blessings. They thought I lost the stepping. I bet on me and my team. ISO is what I'm rapping.
Who are you counting on?
Mercury Racing was forged in the heat of competition. The will to win is in our DNA. Competition isn't just what we do, it's our proving ground. It's about the pursuit of power, performance, and endurance that pushes our limits and yours. We create premium marine power to take you faster and farther. The world offers limits. Mercury Racing offers freedom. Live wide open.
Welcome to sunny Sarasota, Florida. P1 Offshore has shown up in full force for the 40th annual Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix. With over 60 boats entered this weekend, it promises to be an exciting 2 days of offshore racing. And it all starts right now. First up, Class 1 boats qualifying here. They're already on the water, and Mike and Ken are up in the booth. Let's head up to the guys.
Thanks a lot, Taylor. Yeah, it's exciting to be here, and it is a warm day here, as you would expect. Ken Stout and Mike Kowalski sitting right alongside. We're excited to be here. Welcome to the Sarasota P1 Powerboat Grand Prix here in Sarasota, celebrating 40 years, so the second longest-running boat race, from what I understand, to Key West. We're excited to be here, excited to watch these big boats get out there on the water and see what they do. They practiced a little bit earlier this morning. This place is a little rough, a little choppy. It's got some swells in it that aren't always visually something that they can see inside of these boats. As we talked about before, the lack of vision is probably the biggest thing. But talking with Rich Wyatt inside of the DF Young boat, Good Boy Vodka boat, he said, man, you got to kind of know where they're at because you don't. He said, if you see it, it might be too late.
Yeah, and it's a good shot there from our camera. You can kind of see how it rolls up towards the beach just a little bit, and it depends on what the angle of the boat runs, too. Sometimes you're running straight into it. Sometimes it's coming at your rear quarter. Sometimes it's coming from your side. It just really depends on where it's coming from and you being able to figure out what the timing to get across it is. Just so like motocross or supercross or trophy trucks like you run, you can get a rhythm through it if you can figure it out where you can double up over it and try and get on the back side of one. So it'll be interesting to see. It was much rougher yesterday. A lot of teams didn't want to go out and test or practice yesterday just because of how rough it was. I thought it was supposed to calm down a little bit, but I don't think it did as much as everybody else thought it would.
Yeah, agreed, and that's certainly what I heard. We're taking a look at our points leader. That is the Monster Energy mcon boat, of course. They've had an incredible season here as well, and it is Myrick Coyle doing the driving, and owner Tyler Miller will be running the sticks inside of that one. Before this shot, we saw the Morpheus 8 Allegra Motorsports boat is back with us. So we have 5 Class 1 boats out here at UIM points battle. Great to have a field of 5 here once again as we take a look at the Good Boy Vodka.
They are currently sitting third in points behind Defalco. Of course, Defalco taking their first win in Sheboygan back in August. Great day for Mike Falco and Billy Moore as they were able to get that victory haul to the top of the podium. Rich Wyatt, Alex Pratt, they want it to be rough water. They want chop. This is a 50-foot boat. They really like it when it gets bumpy. This boat can span across. It's the biggest boat in the fleet, and it can really span across the top of these waves. When I talked to Rich after practice yesterday, he said, I really want it to stay rough. He goes, I know I'm going to be good in it, and I think he's probably pretty excited that there's some bump out there today.
So we will have 5 Class 1 boats out here. What's going to happen here is they'll have a 10-minute practice session, then they will qualify for tomorrow's race, which will be live on MAV TV. Each boat will go one at a time, and they'll get 2 complete laps. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, the largest course we've had all year long, it's 6 miles in length.
Yes, 6 miles in length. Now, they can only run 1 lap. If their crew comes back and says, you ran a good lap time, we don't think we're going to get any more speed, save the equipment and go back in. This is not like racing in Sheboygan, where it was all fresh water, things can get wet, hose it off and be done. This is acid, basically. This is salt water. This will eat through things and tear things up, and it's much harder on the equipment. Not just the splash, the spray, but also the salt in the air. When you sit out at the beach, you go home from the beach, you feel kind of crusty and sticky. Well, that's salt from the air, and the same thing's going to stick up on these boats, and they don't want to run them any more than what they have to. Just preserve the equipment as much as you can. So, again, if they run their fastest lap on the first time out, they're done. They'll go back and put it back on the trailer. Monster Energy mcon is going to qualify in the number 1 spot. Then it's going to be Defalco in the 2nd spot, DF Young Good Boy Vodka in 3rd, X Insurance in 4th, and Morpheus 8 in 5th. That is our point standing in Class 1, and that's how they're going to qualify here in Sarasota.
And it does look like the mcon Monster Energy machine has picked up the pace now, getting up to race pace. I saw the Morpheus 8 boat sitting down there in the bottom, was not moving at all, so don't know if they had an issue or if it looked like everybody kind of came to a stop there for just a moment. So hopefully we'll get live time and scoring up here in just a little bit as well and give you an idea of what type of lap times they are recording. Of course, top speeds here for these boats on a beautiful day would typically be about 160 miles an hour. There's the X Insurance helicopter, as always, giving us great shots. There's a look at it right there. So, yeah, we look forward to this one. But with that chop out there, I don't know that they'll see speeds of 160, but they say really the big thing is getting these things to turn and carrying that mid-corner speed.
Exactly, and like we saw in Sheboygan, Wisconsin with Austin Holmes, and I talked to you earlier, you've got to set the boat going into the corner. If you don't set the boat going into the corner, it's like having tires that are too slick on a race car. You're just going to slide right through the corner. You're not going to be able to turn. So that's the thing, carrying the speed through the corners, and with this chop, these are big, wide corners. It's not a dog leg like we had in Sheboygan. It's kind of the opposite. It's more of a triangular course with really wide turns. Look at how much mcon is bouncing around out there. They're getting a pretty good amount of air. I'm wondering, Ken, if they've already done their 10 minutes of practice, and this is the start of the qualifying lap for Class 1 for Monster Energy mcon. Talked to Tyler Miller at length at the drivers' meeting this morning. They did a lot of testing back home between the shootout and now, and he said, Mike, we actually went backwards. We had to kind of start over again, kind of reset some things. They were working on CG, center of gravity on the boat, how the boat was running, the attitude, the angle, but they're very happy with their setup. Remember, this is their first season with this particular package. They're the only team running the number 6 drives only. Everybody else is running surface drives with a rudder. This boat was built with surface drives and a rudder, and then over the winter between 23 and 24, they decided to go with just the number 6s because that's what they have on their Super Cat boat.
Yeah, the 438 Skater is something that they wanted to work with, something brand new, as you talked about. I spoke with Myrick very quickly. He said, yeah, a lot of changes, but not all of them work, kind of backing up exactly what you said as well. So we'll see how things go. This isn't their first time out on the water here by today. Even they went out this morning. They had a practice session. This team was very busy because they also run in the Super Cat category. So they went out there, made some passes in this one. Myrick said, yeah, they made a lot of changes. It certainly wasn't 100%, trying to get this thing settled in and fast. And then, of course, they hopped into the Super Cat and went and made some laps inside of that one as well.
This is some pretty tricky water. I can see this is the first time I've gotten to see it. I didn't get to go out yesterday, but this is some pretty tricky water. They're getting a little bit more air than I think they would have anticipated. It doesn't look like mcon is going as fast as they normally would. This is a very difficult race course, Ken. You've been over in the pits, right? 6th Street boat ramp. They're out in the Gulf of Mexico. That's a couple of miles away from where we're sitting. Whoa, big hop there. Set it down on the back. That was definitely a hole that they found, but that's what they're talking about. You get in the groove, you get in the rhythm, and then they're going to hit one, and it's just going to throw them all crazy sideways. But unless they get out on a boat or out to the beach prior to them going out, they don't know what the water's going to look like. This is much more of a guess than it is anything else. I guarantee it's flat calm on Sarasota Bay right now. I mean, it's probably a sheet of glass.
Yeah, they did try to get out yesterday. A couple of boats went out yesterday, but there was some weather in the area, so it was even worse. A lot of the teams chose to wait till this morning to get out there, and talking with some of the best, they said it is pretty lumpy out there, and you build a lot of speed here. He said it can certainly catch you by surprise, and it can be a really bad day really quickly.
Well, and think about it. If they go out and they run it and they don't like their setup, say they want to change their props, or say they want to change a gear ratio or move weight or something, they've got to go all the way back into the boat ramp, get hooked to the crane, pick it up, get what they want changed, put it back in the water, and then go back out a couple of miles to go out and test again. There's a lot to this race course here at Sarasota because we're not right there like we were in Sheboygan. Remember, they could just pull around to the crane, pull it out, do what they need to do, put it back in the water. Plus, high humidity here. You race cars, you know what that does to these engines. They just don't run as well. And again, the saltwater buoyancy is different between saltwater and freshwater, and that does make a difference in how these boats run.
Yeah, ironically enough, I've asked everybody what the differences were setup-wise between Lake Michigan when we were at Sheboygan and here, thinking exactly that. You have cool lake water, but you come down here to a dense salt water that's warmer. They said really not a whole lot of change. It's one of those things where you said, where you talked about you got to come out here and drive the boat. You got to put it in the water. You got to go there and see what it's like, and then they'll come back in and make some adjustments to it.
Exactly. But as they run along the beach, now they are running south on this 6-mile course along Lido Beach. Beautiful day here in Sarasota. This is day one of 2 days of racing. 70-plus boats here in Sarasota. Today we're going to bring you Class 1 qualifying. We're going to bring you factory stock 450, Super V, and, of course, Super Stock. Super Stock's going to be awesome, Ken. We've got 11 boats in that race today. I think it's going to be very, very exciting, especially after the start we had in Sheboygan.
Rick Lindsay doing the driving there in the X-Insurance, flying, I should say, in the X-Insurance helicopter, giving us a great view, as he always does. He's as crazy as the ones driving the boats, I'm telling you.
He puts that helicopter anywhere he wants to. I think he's not scared of it by any means.
He is not afraid by any means.
You see on your screen there the monster mile between buoy number 5 and buoy number 6. Not quite a mile today, a little bit shorter, but got to give a shout out to Monster Energy, the official energy drink of P1 Offshore Racing.
Myra Coyle negotiating the buoys out there as they make their laps here, and we've yet to hear one way or the other that qualifying has started. We'll try to let you know if they let us know, but as of right now, we thought it was a 10-minute practice. We were told a 10-minute practice, but we only see one boat out here at speed so far.
Well, Meyer Coyle's been a very, very busy guy. They just had the shootout out at Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, just a couple of weeks ago, and he went over 200 miles an hour in another skater owned by Slug Hefner with Rusty Williams. I think
the
he
Dirty
went 201 or 202.
He went 199 on day one, and they were oh so close, and then I think day two they upped the ante just a little bit, went 202, and I think second fastest speed. There was a 221 out there that weekend as well. Always cool to watch the shootout.
Yeah, American Ethanol went 221. They've got 4 turbocharged motors and American Ethanol synced together to come out of one drives. Myrick and Rusty did it with 2 Carson Brummett built supercharged engines, and they actually have nitrous on the boat. They felt that they had so much lag on the turbos off of the start that they actually will give it a shot of nitrous, and when it sees 20 pounds of boost, then it cuts the nitrous off. And that's how they were able. They got to start at 40 miles an hour, and they just couldn't get that oomph that they needed to get to speed. So the nitrous obviously paid off well because they had a really, really good run out there. That's not the only boat that Myrick ran, though. I mean, he runs a couple of different boats. He works for a Performance Boat Center, the biggest, without a doubt, the biggest powerboat dealer in the world, offshore powerboat dealer in the world right now. He'll run later today in Super Stock as well. That's a really good point to bring up, Ken, that I just thought about. Myrick's out here getting to do Class 1 qualifying. He's going to get to go back and talk to his Super Stock team, Performance Boat Center Fast Diesel Fuel Systems, and he's going to say, this is what we got to see. This is what it's doing. I think this is what we ought to do. That's a huge advantage right now here in Sarasota.
And I believe Billy Moore will have that same opportunity. Is that correct?
No, he's not running anything in Super Stock today, as far as I know.
I'm sorry. I was talking about from Class 1 to the Super Cat.
Yeah, Class 1 to Super Stock.
Super Stock.
Yep, Super Stock will be our third race today. Because it's definitely confusing water out there. And it's interesting to see. I want to watch this video with Tyler and Myrick later. I see a lot of white spray right down the bottom of the boat. A lot of water sticking to that boat. You can see it almost every time they come through the water. It just doesn't look like, to me, it's flying as good as it normally would. But again, it's very hard to tell from our perspective and our vantage point.
Yeah, we've heard them talk about this being a smaller boat in terms of the fleet, as you've talked about a number of times. This boat really excels in flat water. That's where it really shines. And in the rough water, man, the entire boat out of the water there 2-3 times. Looks like you might have had to check up just a little bit, but not really the water that they want here, as you talked about before. More of a D.F. Young style ocean here so far, or Gulf, I should say.
Or even Morpheus 8 is going to like this.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Carlos De Quesada and Johnny Tomlinson are going to like this water. It's a bigger boat, wider boat, and a longer boat than the skater you see here. So it'll be interesting to see what these qualifying times do here in Class 1 as we watch Monster Energy mcon come around. I believe this should complete their second lap. We do have a status of started on our scoring and timing, so let's see what they come up with.
The not big boat is 43 foot long.
It's not that big. It's not that big.
I don't know how big your boat is, but mine's
23 feet. 23 feet.
There you go.
So even if I double my boat, I still don't make it to what they have. A little bit. But it's not the length that's impressive about these boats. It's the width. You know, and how they have to tilt them on the trailers. That's what gets everybody about these boats, is actually how wide they are, more than their actual length. So mcon turns in to the inside of the course. We do not have times yet officially, so we will wait to see what gets brought to our attention. So up next, it should be Defalco. They are currently sitting in second in points.
Yeah, done a really nice job there. 79 points to the Monster Energy mcon team. 55 points is where Team Defalco comes in here. Mike Falco, of course, Billy Moore, as we were just speaking about him. And you mentioned it before, grabbed their first wins at Sheboygan. They cleaned up, man. They qualified number 1 and then won the doubleheader both days. So a great job there for Team Defalco. And we should also note that at Cocoa Beach, they were way out front. And Lake of the Ozarks, they also, as I recall, I believe had a pretty sizable lead. But Cocoa Beach had a monster lead and unfortunately had a mechanical. So they had some water pressure issues that at some point actually doubled the pressure inside of that boat. So it was up near 80 psi, so they had to back some fix some issues there, and they got things sorted there, obviously, at Sheboygan, and went out and really laid down a couple of great days.
So the lap time for this number 6 boat, their first lap was a 3-minute 35-second lap. Their second lap was 3 minutes and 36 seconds, so just about a second off, or a tenth of a second off between one lap and the other. So let's see what Defalco can do coming up next in Class 1 qualifying. And there they are right there. Of course, Mike Falco owns a concrete precast company in New York City. Super nice guy, taking his first win in Sheboygan. Billy Moore. So I talked to Billy Moore, Ken, yesterday in the pits. They can have the engines out of this boat in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And they pull them out every time that they go back. So they went back from Sheboygan. They pulled the engines out. They actually found a couple of issues. They got them resolved, went out and tested. But every time they go out and test, they pull the engines out. And Billy said it only takes 20 minutes. Within an hour, they can be on the floor, and you can really see everything. You can look in the bilge. You can make sure there's no issues with the engines, no issues with the boat or the rigging, and it really just enhances their program. That's that much more. And when Mike jumped in with Billy, that's the kind of thing that changes program around, and we're able to get them their first win in Sheboygan. But they're catching quite a bit of air out there, too, in that victory hull.
Yeah, so good look right up the center of that as well. By the way, the width of that hull, 72 inches here in Class 1. I believe it's 66 inches, if I'm not mistaken, in the Super Cat, so a little bit bigger here. We talked about the size of the boat there, the mcon boat being 43, this one 46 foot, and a 12-foot beam, speaking of width, of course. And something that I learned after practice, they had put a U-shaped piece of carbon around the hatch underneath the bottom of the boat, where the escape hatch is under the bottom in that tunnel. And it was packing air in there and actually might make causing a lot of lift to the boat. So they literally took that piece off after practice. Mike said he wanted that thing to settle down a little bit. It wasn't working out for him the way that they had hoped.
Well, the attitude of this boat, Ken, looks completely different than Monster Energy mcon. This looks a little bit faster to me. It's staying in the water much more. Now, one of the biggest differences is the drives on these boats. This boat runs surface drive. So basically, it's a drive shaft directly out of the back of the boat with the propeller on it. The Monster Energy mcon boat is running the number 6s, which come out. They basically do a 90-degree turn down and then do a 90-degree turn out the back.
It would be what I would call more of a conventional outdrive that people would be familiar with.
Exactly. Well, when you talk to the guys that have run both of the boats, this boat is going to fly more level simply because the props are just straight out the back of the boat. It's going to want to push up and fly level, as to where the Monster Energy boat, it's going to want to pick the bow up a little bit where those props are just a little bit deeper. Not a significant amount. I'm not saying feet or anything like that. I'm saying inches, of course. But it will want to tend to have that boat rock up just a little bit. And you can tell the attitude of this boat is a lot different than what we saw at that skater hull. This is running much more flat, getting considerably less airtime than that skater hull was. So this looks really good right now for Defalco.
Yeah, you might have mentioned it in here. So the way they steer this boat in comparison to the the M6 drives, where they will actually steer the boat as well.
Yep.
This has that huge rudder, great shot of it right there in the back, and that's how they will steer that thing, of course. And they can raise and lower. Oh, man, big moment right there. They can raise and lower those props. They have that ability, as all the boats do, and it happens very, very quickly to change the attitude of this boat as well if they're not happy with it.
Ken, I think that happened just about where Monster Energy mcon did the same thing. They caught a weird flyer right there. They went up, they laid it over on the side a little bit. I don't know how much they had to lift out of it to correct it. Looks like it self-righted itself a little bit and got itself straight. But it's interesting. This backside of this course seems to have a hole somewhere on that outside leg that is really kind of throwing these guys for a little bit of a loop. That's the biggest error we've seen this boat get since they started qualifying. They've got to beat a 3:35 lap in order to be on the pole.
And I see that on timing and scoring, it looks like they took the slower of the two laps from Monster Energy, the mcon boat, but we have it at 3:35 and 31, 3:35.31. So Not sure which one. They just posted one, so we'll see if we can get the second one. But we're keeping track of it here. We'll find out if they've got any more speed here.
There's your
in
rudder.
the Defalco machine.
There's your rudder. You can see that white little spray right down the middle of the boat. That's that big stainless steel rudder that can, believe it or not, be adjusted vertically to reduce drag on the boat to try and get as much speed out as you can. But I really like Defalco here. I like their performance. I like their attitude. This boat looks really, really good here in Sarasota.
At Sheboygan, as you talk about that rudder, they had to put a lot of wheel in this thing to keep it on the course. We had 20-mile-per-hour sustained winds that were blowing across the side of these boats, and they would literally aim them to the left, and the wind would blow them back to the right. But you got to put a lot of rudder in the boats, which, of course, is creating a lot of friction in the back and slows them down. Here, it's a much different course. As you can see, it's just the water itself is naturally more choppy and a much rougher ride here, despite the lack of the sustained wind.
Well, and this isn't just a swell, right? This isn't just a nice rolling wave. It does have a chop on top of it, which is giving these boats kind of a weird attitude. Looks like we have a hatch popped open on the port side of Defalco as we will wait for their lap time to come across. They just went across the finish line, complete lap number 1. Let's see if we can get a time up here.
Yeah, good eye there. Saw that flapping around as well. I guess the question is, how would it affect them? I don't think it'll have any effect on how things end up here for a couple of laps.
Well, you'll notice on these boats, that's why the hatch is open backwards. So if something like that does happen, the air actually keeps it down instead of wanting to pick it up and rip it off. So it looks like boat number 18, Defalco, went 3:21.08 on their first lap. So they are more
10 seconds quicker. That's a bunch.
Yeah, that's real. That's really fast.
Really nice job. Exactly what we expected. Now, keep in mind, they have qualified in the number 1 spot at every event. I think with the exception of Lake of the Ozarks, if I recall, I believe mcon qualified number 1 there as they went out and dominated that event. But this boat has been very, very fast. They've had to lead a number of times, just were not able to find the checkered flag until Sheboygan, as we talked about, with a 1-1 finish.
There was that spot again, Ken. You just saw. There it does it again. It's that straightaway. When they start to run north a little bit, look how far they are offshore. The terrain of the bottom really changes. It gets much more shallower, as you get towards up towards the beach. And I think it's kind of just changing the attitude of the boat quite a bit. Billy obviously thinks they have something more because a 3:21 is really good. I think he knows. Let them get a lap in it, get a little bit warmed up, figure the water out, and go and see if they can break that 3:21. That's why they're continuing to do their second lap here in Sarasota. But just a beautiful boat, beautiful livery down the side of it, the New York City skyline. Of course, we just remembered 9/11 this past week. Mike's very big into actually has 9/11 on the back of the boat. You might be able to see it there in your shot just behind the canopy.
Man, carried the nose there a bunch as well. And I have read where, as you talked about it being relatively shallow, they can drive off the bottom as well. So if there's inconsistencies off the bottom, which is, ironically enough, something that the drag boat drivers will talk about as well. If there's inconsistencies on the bottom, it can change how the water bring those dips up that they have to get through.
So in Key West, Florida, when you come racing into the harbor of Key West, there are 2 drain pipes that come out off of land, and they're underwater. But they always cause a hump right there, and every single time a boat will hop up over that. Defalco does pull into the middle of the course. They have slowed. That is not what race control said to do. Race control said if you're done with your lap after your time, just turn in the middle of the course. They didn't want them to run the whole way back around to go north. So Defalco has slowed and slowed quickly. And
we would think it would certainly indicate some sort of mechanical or something they're not happy with. Pull the plug on it here real quickly and
of course, we are presuming at this point we're never going to say that anything's happening.
Well, I don't think he would just completely shut off like that. Right. I mean, even if he just wasn't happy with the lap, so he would slow down. Yeah, that's a dead stop there. So clearly some sort of issue there for the Defalco team.
Now, as I mentioned to you before, these boats do have Guardian mode on them, right? So it's kind of an idiot-proof system, if you would, where if you get low water pressure, low oil pressure, high oil temperature, high engine temperature, any number of things, it can go into Guardian mode. The way they reset it, though, all the way back, get it to the stops, and then go forward again, and that will clear the Guardian mode. Sometimes you have to turn the battery switches on or off or turn the ignitions on and off, but Mercury Racing came up with a way to quickly get past it because it can come up, especially in some of the growing years in Class 1 with the Mercury Racing 1100 engine package. Hatches open. They are still under their own power, so that is a good sign.
Yeah, we really haven't talked about the power inside of these boats, but a pair of those making 1,100 horsepower each, so 2,200 horsepower total out of these things. Twin turbocharged, about 520 cubic inches or so. And as you talked about, Mercury competition engines, so everybody has the same one, kind of a spec engine, if you will.
Yep. And there's very specific rules about Mercury working on them and taking apart. You know, not just any engine builder can build it or take it apart. It has to go back to Mercury. It has to be certified through Mercury. When they raced Super Cat Light back in the day with the Mercury Racing 525, those motors, actually all over them, had bolts that were safety wired together with specific tags on them that, you know, the chief inspectors could just look at it. It was sealed, right, exactly. Sure. And they could look at that and say, oh, well, you've broken the seal or you haven't broken the seal. So right now, Defalco, Ken, is going to stick with a 321.08, it looks like.
Great time, but we have no idea why they came to a stop. As you take a quick look at us in the booth here. By the way, beautiful booth, nice and air conditioned. It is hot. It is humid outside, so we will welcome this, and obviously a great view courtesy of our awesome crew giving us some good camera work out there as well.
Definitely. Up next, be DF Young, Good Boy Vodka. I think this is going to be a good qualifying lap for them. This is rough water. This is what they want to see. As we will get back to the qualifying here in just a minute. We're going to bring you factory stock 450 and Super V up next, and then Super Stock. That is going to be a very, very exciting race today. 11 boats in the class, and it's just going to be a good time here in Sarasota. Of course, Ryan Beckley Racing in the professional plumbing boat. The hometown hero is right up in Bradenton. You got Grant Bruggerman. He's going to be in GC Racing right here in Bradenton as well. So got a lot of local heroes, a lot of local flavor here in Sarasota. Big offshore powerboat racing community here.
Beautiful look. I believe that to be Lido Beach, and was out there at the Old Salty Dog yesterday. Had a nice lunch out there on the water, and purely dumb luck, but I just ended up sitting right by the rail, by the water, enjoying lunch, and all the boats came cruising by as they were testing a little bit. So
right? Yeah.
It was perfect. It could not have been a better lunch.
You were kind of a spectator for it. If you were at that point.
I was eating it up, man. It could not get any better. Beautiful look there at the coast.
That is the P1 VIP hospitality tent. If you want to watch a boat race in comfort with good food and beverage provided for you, go to p1offshore.com and check out their VIP experience. They'll do it at St. Pete, and they'll do it here in Sarasota. I'm sure you might be able to even still get a ticket to enjoy the racing tomorrow here on Lido Beach. Well, there is boat number 17, the 50-foot Mystic, DF Young, Good Boy Vodka, Rich Wyatt and Alex Pratt, a new team together this year. Both very experienced racers, but joined forces in the offseason and jumped in this 50-foot Mystic and have done very, very well so far, sitting in third in points. They only came in third in points after Defalco took the win in Sheboygan, but they've had a very consistent year and just done really, really well. Of course, Herb Stotler tunes this boat, longtime engine builder, one of the best in the industry. Been wrenching for Rich Wyatt for quite a few years, and this team has really got this boat figured out. But Ken, this boat takes a lot of work because it's the biggest boat in the fleet. They have to do just a little bit more work to make sure they're getting all the speed they can out of this boat. But just such a sleek-looking silver boat, number 17 with the green. Of course, Good Boy Vodka. Every pour helps a pup. I'm sure there'll be some Good Boy Vodka beverages to enjoy later this evening if you have enjoyed
I've been trying to help a lot of pups.
Me too. Me too.
It actually is real. I really, really love the John Daly seltzers too. They're very, very tasty for sure.
Yep. They have the Citrus Circuses, which is the Travis Pastrana drink developed just for Travis. Of course, the Orange Crush is a known Maryland drink, and Travis made a deal with Alex that you can put an Orange Crush in a can, you can put my name on it. So they came up with the Citrus Circus, another tasty beverage, if you would.
Yeah, I saw where Travis made a statement, I believe it was yesterday, was on social media and said if you're not scared to death the entire time inside of one of these things, then you're not doing it correctly.
Well, there's a video. If you want to see an interesting video, there's a video of Britt and Travis racing together. This was a couple of years ago here. They were racing in Mod V at the time, and they were in Britt's old boat. And I don't remember the story of what happened to the boat, but all that I know is their faces got real big, their eyes got real big, and they got it settled back down and got it figured out. And they had some good stories to tell from that race if you want to ever Google that video. In fact, I think they did a highlight reel of all like Travis's most amazing motorsports moments, and that was in it because it was a pretty scary moment.
Yeah, allowing Travis to run the throttles, you better hang on because I don't know if he knows how to pull back on anything.
I questioned that. I wondered about that.
Beautiful looking boat here, of course, DF Young machine and Good Boy Vodka as a big part of that as well. And once again, the X Insurance helicopter goes sailing by as you take a look at the number 17. Talking to Rich White a little bit earlier, multi-time champion, of course, said there's some big swells out here. They were going to make a gear change, did not say up or down, but was going to make a gear change after practice this morning to come out here and take a swing at it.
And you can guarantee that these teams are going to be looking closely at the weather tomorrow because it could be completely different today. Sarasota can go from really rough to really calm really fast. And just because it's like this today, I mean, it might not be like this tomorrow, but I don't think anybody thought it was going to be really this rough today either.
They did finish up on the podium here 1 year ago as they were in the third position behind the Husky Ice Spitz boat and the 222 Offshore Australia boat, which took the win here a year ago.
They did. Of course, Giovanni Carpatella will be throttling the Montlick Insurance 450 factory stock boat coming up next. He did throttle that 222 offshore boat based out of Australia. Love this 50-foot Mystic.
Boy, that thing just looks happy, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks fantastic. It looks happier than Defalco did. And look at his props never come out of the water. They're getting a little light. They're getting some cavitation to them, but the whole drive, you don't ever see the full, complete drive. And he's on that back straightaway where we saw everybody kind of take those weird hits and those weird hops and kind of twist around a little bit. You just don't see this boat doing that. This boat looks flat. It looks planted. It looks really, really good right now. There's a bigger hop for it there as you saw some prop action.
Yeah, and I would say for the fans at home to go back in their memory banks and kind of remember what the Monster Energy mcon boat looked like and how much it was completely out of the water in comparison to this one, which is yet to leave the water entirely.
Now they go into the turn. They set it pretty tight there, which means they feel pretty comfortable with the speed. But you're a car guy, so you know with twin-turbo motors, you do not have instant power. Those turbos have to spool up. It's the same thing here. It's not like running everything else where you have just instant go power. They've got to kind of think about, plan their moves, plan going through the corner, really plan throttling the boat. The turbine boat, Scotty Begovic used to throttle the Miss Geico boat, and he said it was just not like throttling anything else because you didn't lift out of it as much because you couldn't get back in it as quick as you need to. So they'll let it kind of spool up just a little bit more and won't necessarily work the sticks just as hard. Not as much as we would see in something like Super Cat or a Mod V boat, which we'll see later on this weekend.
Completely out of the water there, a couple of hops, but yeah, you bring up a great point. You've got to keep these things in the boost. You don't have multiple gears to get you up there. Once you get there, you've got to keep it there. So if you chop a turn down, you lose a lot of speed for whatever reason, you fall out of that boost level. It will take you a good amount of time lost, certainly in qualifying here, to get that thing happy again.
Yeah, you can't drop it down in the second gear, get your RPMs back up where you want it, and then it shifts back up to third. And that's what Steve Curtis told me a long time ago. He actually throttles the boat not with the tacks but with the boost gauges because they know if it has to be, I'm just throwing a number out there, between 20 and 30 pounds of boost, he knows to keep it in that range. He doesn't want to go less than 20 and doesn't want to go over 30. So he'll watch that, and that's how he'll throttle it. Most of the time you're doing it off the tacks, right? You want your boat to run your RPM.
Yeah, and a lot of times with a car, you can drag a brake and keep it in the boost.
Right.
Instead of getting out of the throttle. You can't drag the brake here.
Right. That's that trick of stepping on the gas and on the brake at the same time. That's a really hard thing to do. In a pleasure car, which might not be the safest thing to do either. Hey, it's worth trying on a back road.
You got to practice in a pleasure car.
Right. No practice in a pleasure boat for this. You can guarantee that. But I do like this boat. It does look fast. And I'm interested to see what it will do compared to Defalco right now, a 3:21.08. So DF Young Good Boy Vodka ran a 3:30.57. So they are in second place in qualifying right now. Defalco sitting on the pole.
Just sneak ahead there a little bit.
I'm really surprised, Ken. I didn't think it would be that far off of Defalco. I thought it'd be a little bit faster, but maybe they just wanted to go run their sight lap on the first one. Maybe they'll lighten up a little bit this time, get a little bit flightier, run a little bit looser. Maybe they'll pick up some speed.
Seems to me like they've carried that boat, a little more air this time around.
So
maybe they have picked up the pace here just a bit.
9 seconds is a hard number to find, though.
That's a
big number to look for.
I mean, the good news here, with 5 boats, you're going to have a fair shot at it anyways. You're going to have plenty of 30 minutes of run time. So if you've got a fast boat, you'll have some time to get it done. But I think that initial launch, whoever gets that first point, is so critical for that fresh air, that clean air, if you will, to stay out of the roost. To try and make a pass out here in this class is no easy task. And certainly the Defalco boat has proven to be very, very fast all year long.
Well, you won't see any rooster tail hopping like we saw in Sheboygan. They cannot afford to get hosed down here. The moment you get salt water in any of these connections, they'll start to corrode. You'll start to have all kinds of mechanical issues due to corrosion or something shorting out. it's interesting. If they flip a boat over in freshwater, most of the time they won't have to rewire it. They'll choose to do it, but they wouldn't have to. But if it flips over here in the saltwater, the moment a positively charged battery or wire or battery hits that saltwater, it just instantly destroys the wire. There's just nothing you can do for it. So they really have to stay out of that spray. And this is one of the very few boats that doesn't have like a big scoop on it. They've got a deck scoop where they're forcing air down to the motor just like this. It works out to be a little bit better because the air can kind of get up over top of it and may not scoop it. You get a big scoop like we see in drag cars and stuff. That's a big hole for basically water to go into. And not having those definitely helps. But they'll want to stay out of each other's rooster tails for sure.
Kind of see where they are there in that track map. Once again, 6 miles in distance here. And yes, the Monster Mile is here. Maybe a little tick underneath the a mile in total length as we take a look at this one. And yeah, man, I mean, these boats at speed are incredible. A couple of hops right there. It definitely seems like they are pushing harder here in lap 2.
And they went out wider through that corner. Remember on the first lap, they went in kind of tight. They ran really close to the buoy. There, it looked like they were much more mid of the turn, kind of arcing the turn just a little bit more, carrying more speed through it. Ken, the one thing we haven't touched on is there are 2 unknown variables still in Class 1. The 3 boats that we've seen qualify, they are top 3 in points. They've been our 3 consistent boats all year long. They've been to every race that we've been to. X Insurance is up next, and then we have Morpheus 8. We've only seen Morpheus 8 one time. That was in Cocoa Beach, Florida. It did not go to Lake of the Ozarks. It did not go to Sheboygan. And we have X Insurance, which made their return to Class 1 in Sheboygan. So 2 boats that we don't have a whole lot of information about. They're going to come up next. It'll be interesting to see how they do because this is going to be different water than any of the other races they've been to.
Herb Stotler, the crew chief on this one, out of Sarasota, Florida. I'm sure he's happy to be working here at home.
He might be used to the heat.
Maybe.
If you could ever get used to it.
It doesn't mean you like it. You're just used to it.
I compared it to, you're from up in the north. I say north, but you're middle of the country.
Indy's north.
Right, yeah. When it's cold, you get punched in the face when you walk outside. Well, it's the same thing with the heat. It takes your breath away.
And no, it's not a dry heat.
So it looks like on their second lap, I think they did a 3:30.57. So they were really consistent between lap 1 and lap number 2.
And we'll take a look at this boat. Now, obviously, we'll fill you in with lap time here. It looks like a 3:26.24. So they did shave a lot of time off of there. Excellent job for that team. And our Taylor Snyder's been busy as well. Let's get it back down to her. Taylor?
Back in first from the qualifying session out there on the water. I have Monster Energy mcon team. Tyler, I'll start with you. I don't think you guys have had a chance to look at your lap times yet. There's a quick look at them. You are number 6, your fastest being a 3:35. What's your initial thoughts here?
Well, 5 minutes before time trial started, we went out and made a last-minute test. We slung a propeller blade on our favorite set of props for this kind of water. So we were a mad dash just to make it to time trials. We knew the setup we had at that point was not going to be that competitive. So just to get out and get the 2 laps under our belt was good. We'll regroup and get the right prop and be back tomorrow.
And Myrick Coyle, we've been through this before. You guys don't always put down the fastest qualifying, but does that really matter when we come to race day?
Yeah, no, it's a battle of attrition, and obviously out there in the rough water, it doesn't necessarily matter who's in the pole position. In calm water, I would disagree. I mean, once you get that clean water, you're gone. There's no clean water out there anywhere, so we're just out there trying to do the best for the team and try to, do our laps, and that's what it's all about.
Any time on the water is a good time to learn about the boat. Any thoughts going into tomorrow's race?
Well, yeah, like I said before, just out there and do your laps and see how it all turns out. Obviously, we got looking for some propellers and try to make some changes tonight and see if we can get the boat a little better.
Excellent. Well, best of luck, guys. Let's see if we can get some more boats coming in. Until then, let's head back up to the booth, see how qualifying's going for the other teams.
Thanks a lot, Taylor. We appreciate that. Another beautiful look here at the beach. We're in Sarasota, Florida. If you're not familiar with that, welcome back to the booth as well. I'm Ken Stout, Mike Uwalski, sitting right alongside the super knowledgeable guy here. How long have you been doing this, bud?
20 years.
20 years. So.
Almost as long as you've been doing motorsport stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But not as much as you.
Yeah,
Although I still have people come up to me and like, you're
just
working
fast.
with Ken Stout? You're working with Ken Stout?
Yeah, you lost a bet. Sorry about that, man.
No, you lost a bet. You're with me, man. That's what happens.
Good luck, the X Insurance boat out here cruising along as they get started on their qualifying run as well. But, yeah, we're a little bit south of St. Pete, a little bit south, if you will, southwest of Tampa. So just down here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Beautiful area, of course, known for its offshore powerboat racing. The most well-attended event so far here in 2024. We'll take a look at the X Insurance boat here. That is owned by Rick Lindsay. Yes, the same Rick Lindsay that's flying the helicopter as well. Britt Lilly on the sticks here. Driver
Randy Kent.
Randy Kent doing the driving here as well. You had a chance to speak with Randy at Sheboygan a little bit. A lot of changes. Speaking of Britt Lilly, he said they went out, they did a lot of testing with this boat. They've changed a lot. Center of gravity, you spoke of CJ a little bit earlier. Before they changed prop angles, prop height. So they've done a lot. But they went out and practiced a little bit earlier this morning, and this thing went into Guardian courtesy of water pressure issues. He said that they were going to drop the water hole to scoop the water in about a half hole. So the water scoop about a half hole. So to see if they could calm that down. So hopefully they will be able to complete the laps here without going into Guardian.
Yeah, they all have adjustable water pickups on them, whether they're on the bottom of the boat or they're on the transom, and they can raise and lower it based upon the conditions and the race site. The minimal amount of drag you can put, and plus it can chop up the water going back towards the propeller. Interesting to hear Myrick and Tyler talk about their qualifying lap. That's what I said before anybody went out. This is a difficult race course because you go so far away from where your equipment is that if you sling a blade, so slinging a blade means they probably broke a prop. You know, it's a $15,000 piece of metal that hangs off the back of the boat, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just ripped the blade right off of it. And they had to make a quick change, and you heard him say, we don't have a prop for these conditions. These are very, very specific conditions. This isn't like something that you see all the time. You're going to have a really good one setup type of deal for this race, and if you lose that, you're really going to be searching for speed. They've got to find 10 seconds. Ken, think about this. They are our points leader in Class 1. They've had a dominating year. They are 10 seconds slower than the second place boat, than our number 2 qualifier, which was DF Young.
Yeah, that's it's massive. But as you talked about before, I mean, they really, I'm sure they wanted to get out here and at least see what they were working with, because the next time they're on the water, it's going to be race time. That'll be tomorrow morning, of course. So they didn't want to miss the session, so quickly had 10 minutes to change that, make that change, and get back out here and at least make a run at it so they know what they're working with.
This MTI, the lone MTI in the fleet, looks to be picking up some speed on the back straightaway. Of course, Britt Lilly still getting in the groove of throttling this boat, done most of his time driving, but now he has jumped over to the throttleman seat for this number 11 X Insurance team, and I like the attitude of the boat. Looks good. It was a little bowed down when they started. Maybe a little bit too much negative trim, but he seemed to have picked it up quite a bit as the boat is just running really, really flat.
Good-sized boat here as well at 48 foot.
Now, this boat was a Team Abu Dhabi boat from overseas. They purchased it last year, raced it last year. Of course, it rolled over in Key West. Didn't roll over. It actually flipped over backwards in Key West with Grant Bruggerman and Randy Kent on board. They worked on it all winter long. Got it out for Sheboygan. So this team is really starting to get things figured out. It was good to hear that Britt had done a lot of testing with Randy in the boat. I think Billy Pyburn, who is a throttleman for the Dirty Money Racing boat, did some testing in it too. It's good to see this team start to get the kinks worked out. This isn't an easy class to go race. This is a difficult class to go race. Probably one of the hardest out there. And you know, when you're still learning a brand new boat, you're learning a new driver or a new throttleman, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have to come together. And I hope this team will get it figured out shortly. It'll be good to see them get up on top.
Randy Kent, a team manager for a number of different teams, really hands-on as well. A guy that is all business here at the racetrack, just his attitude. 2006 won the World Championship of the Super Cat Light Series with OSS alongside throttleman Reggie Fountain, the third, and 2014 to 17 race in the Unlimited class alongside Chris Hanley. So a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Reggie Fountain III, son of Reggie Fountain, founder and owner of Fountain Powerboats, a legend within the sport himself. Of course, Britt Lilly, Art Lilly's father, used to race for Reggie Fountain as well. So kind of all tied together. One big happy family here in offshore powerboat racing, as X Insurance should complete their first lap any minute now. And we'll see if we can get a team. Just got a note. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Defalco is on its way in with a mechanical issue. DF Young completed both laps, but is having mechanical issues also. So right now, we have two of our Class 1 teams not having the best luck after qualifying. We saw Defalco go down after the first lap. They're headed back in with some sort of an issue, as well as DF Young. So we'll catch up with those boys.
Yeah, DF Young both definitely threw down on that second lap. So no, they went after it. There's no doubt about that. And chopped a bunch of time off.
That comment makes me wonder, did they have enough to beat a 321, but did they start having that mechanical issue and had to lift out of it or slow a little bit? They still ran a 326. Look, that's very good, very competitive up towards the front. But I wonder if they might have had just a little bit more.
Yeah, good news for them. They'll have the rest of the day to get that thing fixed up as well. They do not race today. They won't race until tomorrow. as we watch them make that big, long, arcing turn. Nice job, though, in terms of apexing those buoys.
That's buoys number 6, 7, 8, and 9 on the south end of the course. Mercury Racing provides full factory support at these races, so there's probably about 5 or 6 Mercury Racing techs around here right now. They will jump right up in there with the DF Young crew or the Defalco crew and help figure out what's going on with those engines. They'll hook their computers up, do their readings.
If, in fact, it's engines, right?
Right.
It might not be engines at all.
It could be anything.
Yep.
Could be transmission issues.
A lot of things to go wrong there. Yeah, it's pretty violent out there.
That was a pretty cool shot. Another cool shot right there of our X Insurance helicopter providing the aerial footage for today's qualifying. All racing this weekend providing the aerial footage, getting to run alongside his sponsored MTI, the number 11 X Insurance boat. As they ran on their first lap was a 3:38.94 for their first lap. So a 3:38.94. They're about
put them P4
Yep,
right
that
now.
would have been number 4. Let's see if they can pick it up for the second lap. We've seen another team do well on their second lap. DF Young did much better their second time around. So let's see if the same thing can happen with X Insurance.
Britt Lilly, 2022 UIM Class 1 World Champion. I found it interesting that you said running the throttles here is relatively new for Brett Lilly, really a driver his entire life. However, his father, of course, legendary throttle man as well. But Brett Lilly, multiple Mod and Stock V World Championships and formerly the co-driver of the Class 1 Husky Chocolate team as well with throttle man Steve Curtis.
Yep, he's driven that. He's driven WHM for Billy Moth. He's driven a couple super stock boats. He really has driven quite a lot. But he made his mark in Mod V and Stock V. He's actually building the boats. He builds some of the extremes we're going to see out here tomorrow. He's really made his mark there, but he got invited to run Dirty Money. He's driven a lot. He really has, and it's good to see him jump over to the throttle man position. And I wish him all the best in the success at it. Got a lot to figure out and a lot to learn, but Britt's a super intelligent guy, and he's very open to learning everything he possibly can of what he needs to do to make this boat go fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, his father passed away earlier this year in February. He had a chance to be with his dad, of course, and his father could not have been more proud. One of the things that he told him, he said, "I got the job." So, and he was referring to driving a Class 1 boat, so throttling a Class 1 boat. So it was something that made his father very, very happy, and a special moment between the two of them just before he passed.
And I used to work for both of them at their shop up in Arnold, Maryland, and I got to see the support that Art always gave Britt. And actually at Art's memorial service, I brought that up, but just how much he supported all of his kids, Sharon, Rodney, and Britt. Like, he just always believed in them 110%, made them feel that anything they put their mind to, they could go do. And I know exactly how much it meant to Britt to be able to talk to his dad about it right before his dad passed away. So we miss Art. We love him, the General, as we call him, a great guy. And, of course, Britt carrying on the family name, the Lilly name.
Boy, I would say just like the DF Young Good Boy Vodka boat, you can see they are aggressively getting after lap 2 here. This boat in the air a lot more than it was on lap 1.
Yep, loosening up quite a bit, maybe burning off just a little bit of fuel or getting a little bit more confident, feeling they can trim it a little bit more. Hanging it out on that edge more, if you would, to see if they can go any faster here in the Gulf of Mexico. Trying to beat a 3:38.
Rick Lindsay right there with them with the X Insurance helicopter, giving us those awesome views. Yes, there are 2 helicopters up there. That's how we get a view of him as well. Pretty cool. So they will settle the X Insurance boat down, pull back on the throttles, and turn back in after lap 2 completed.
Let's see if we can get a time here on their second. Looks like it's a 3:39.03. So they actually, nope, I'm sorry, it's a 3:34.31.
So they did tighten it up a little bit.
They did. So they're going to sit in third now because they are faster than Monster Energy mcon. So they are now up into the third spot. Monster Energy is finding itself in a spot it's not typically in, being down to fourth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're not done yet. We have one more boat to go.
Exactly. Let's see if Morpheus 8, Carlos de Quesada, and Johnny Tomlinson running this victory hull. Of course, we saw this boat in Cocoa Beach. This is a bigger hull. So it's going to like this rougher water as well. And, of course, if you're running a boat with Johnny Tomlinson, without a doubt, the best in the business, you've got all the talent you need in that cockpit of that boat.
35-plus year career. Has amassed over 50 national and world titles to his credit. Has over 160 individual wins. Yeah, he's a tough one, no doubt about that.
And just a great guy, just a humble guy to hang out with. Always appreciative to talk to the fans. He will actually run 450 factory stock later. So when I said Myrick had a chance to see what the conditions look like, Johnny can see him too, and he'll go back and tell Taylor and Milton and their crew chief that, hey, these are the changes we may need to make for our race, which will be coming up next here in Sarasota. So right now, Defalco a 3:21.08, DF Young a 3:26.24, X Insurance a 3:34, and Monster Energy mcon a 3:35. Let's see what Morpheus can do. Of course, this boat tuned by Gary Stray. Gary Stray, a legendary rigger, started his career back in MTI with Super Cat rigging and has rigged boats for multiple teams around the world.
Well, it looks like Johnny getting after it right off the bat. That thing immediately up in the air.
It does look really good. It looks super fast and super flat.
And another big boat here at 50 foot.
Yeah, and it's not really picking the bow up that much at all. You can see it's getting quite a bit of air, but it's knocking the front down pretty quickly, which means their balance is really, really good. But they are slowing, already slowing.
Yep, clearly something going wrong here with the Morpheus 8.
And they've fallen off a
And that
plane.
is disappointing
For
sure.
Yeah, didn't even get to complete a lap, and they have stopped quickly. Now, this could be a Guardian mode issue, maybe if they pull it back and reset it, but they're turning. They already want to head back into the pits, it looks like. They have water coming out of the side. That's the exhaust water dump coming out the starboard side of the boat. That's not a bilge pump or anything like that. So that means that motor is still running. It'd be interesting to see if we can see the other side to see if water comes out. That would be that motor is still running too.
Had a chance to meet and speak with Carlos Tigosano last night. Great guy, very, very approachable. Of course, many, many years of experience in sports car racing, as does his son as well, Michael, who has won some GT4 races here this year in the IMSA series. He and his son actually won the 24 Hours of Daytona in the same car together going back a few years ago, so very special moment for those two.
That's living in your world there, isn't it?
That it's pretty cool. I mean, winning that race alone is most difficult, of course, but to do it with your son inside of the car, and he raced at the highest levels. I mean, they were in a DPI car, so as you take a look at Alex Pratt, I believe, climbing out of the DF Young Good Boy Vodka boat, that is the man behind the Good Boy Vodka brand. And there's Rich Wyatt as well climbing up out of the hatch.
So they are going to be currently in the number 2 spot for qualifying. That's a good spot for them to be in. If this bump stays like it is, it could be a good day for this team tomorrow. They look pretty happy with their setup, as that's the Morpheus 8 support team pulling up to them. Now, I don't believe there are any rules about trying to figure out what's going on with the boat. They can't make any repairs or anything, but hopefully they maybe can try and communicate to see what's going on. But see, Ken, that port motor, the motor to the left, is not running. I don't see water coming out of the exhaust dump, so that means that motor is down as we see the MTI hull head back towards our crane area. So Morpheus out with a mechanical issue. So, Ken, that's 3 mechanical issues, with the 4th issue being that Monster Energy mcon threw a propeller.
Tough conditions out there. You can see actually right there, you can see some white caps as well. So it looks to me like the conditions progressively got worse during this session. Oh, man, and you can see the weather out there as well. So, yeah, I would say that's true. Obviously, that is rain off in the distance. I saw a small chance of rain here today, but was hoping we would get away with it. Obviously, we are definitely going to deal with it here. So, in the meantime, let's get it back down to Taylor.
Back in from qualifying, DF Young Good Boy Vodka. The guys are down here, and I'll give you a quick look at your qualifying times. 3:30 and 3:26. What are your initial thoughts?
We had a few issues with the overheating today, so hopefully we get that fixed for tomorrow. And I think Rich could have probably had a sandwich while we were trying to get the boat back on plane. So, I think there's a lot more improvement to do.
There were some things going on out there. I heard you guys chatting coming out of the boat. What was it like in qualifying?
It was rougher than we thought. It actually picked up a little bit right as we were about to go. Still missed a little bit on the gear. Guardian issues slowed us down quite a bit. So we'll be good for tomorrow. Make some changes and get it sorted out.
Any clue in the changes? Or are you keeping those secret, ready to get on the
top secret?
I love it. All right, well, we've got some more boats coming in with times. Let's head back out to the guys in the booth until the guys come back here.
And so it sounds like they also had some maybe some water pickup issues like we heard out of a couple of the other boats. So they'll have to get that sorted and see if they can keep those engines at the proper temperature that they want without those things going into Guardian.
You can see actually the crew is that's Carlos, I think, taking his life jacket off there, putting it back in the cockpit. So not sure what happened, but they have tossed it in early, if you would, not even trying to go out and make any sort of a run. So they did not complete one lap here in Sarasota. That will put them in the number 5 spot. to start tomorrow's Class 1 race. We have wrapped up Class 1 qualifying. In fact, it looks like the boat's now going to be put under tow. Wrapping up Class 1 qualifying, up next is going to be factory stock, 450 factory stock, and Super V. That should be right around we were going to be around 1:45, but they're going to have to get this boat towed back into shore and clear of the race course. Ken, it does look like that rain is building to the north quite a bit there.
Yeah, it is working its way down. You can see it off to the left-hand side, and off to the left-hand side is lining itself up with us. So hopefully it does not come in and hammer us too hard here, as we have a full day of racing yet to go. The UIM Class 1 qualifying highlights here as we take a look at some of the action that went on. Congratulations, by the way, to the Defalco team. They are the number 1 qualifiers here. 321.08. They've qualified in the number 1 spot at nearly every event so far this year. It's been a great run for sure. However, qualifying is qualifying, and it's over. It's all about race time now, and we'll feature those, the Class 1 boats, tomorrow.
And, Ken, a lot of work for a lot of teams tonight. Every Class 1 team, it sounds like, we haven't heard from X Insurance yet, but every team so far, Monster Energy's got something to figure out. DF Young, Good Boy Vodka's got something to figure out. Obviously, Morpheus has something to figure out, and Defalco has something to figure out. Be a lot of work going on in the pits tonight. Everybody's going to be very, very busy. Luckily, those teams only have 1 boat. Monster Energy McOn has 2 boats, but their Super Cat boat should be ready to go for tomorrow's Super Cat race, which will be the last race of the day. But that rain could change the conditions a little bit. It will bump it up a little bit. I think it'll push a little bit more wind in, but also it could cool it off just a little bit.
So we will take a quick commercial break here as well. We will pay some bills here. A long day yet ahead of us here. We'll find out how the weather affects us as well. But one thing's for sure, we're going to have a great time watching some incredible powerboat racing here at the Sarasota P1 Powerboat Grand Prix, celebrating 40 years. We'll be back in just a moment.
Rated M for mature.
Who are you counting on? Who are you leaning on? Who are you
Hey, they tryna block all my blessings. They thought I lost the snapping. I bet on me and my team. ISO is what I'm rapping.
Who are you counting on?
Rising up, pushing up to the summit. Got the keys to the show, get me running. To the place for the race, so we don't wait. Give it up for the win, this is our day. Energy, unleash the inner beast. Energy, running to the top. See you at the peak. Unleash the inner beast, but we never stop to the victory.
Can you say something to me here?
I used to toss a coin in the waterfalls in the wishing well. Now I get penny coin, some stuff made. You ain't gotta wish me well. You ain't like me then, but I guess it's past tense, cause you tapped in. You was never who you said. I see the facade when looking at really need. I can tell my guard up. I ain't taking L's. If it's not in my favor, won't sign a deal. I got the royalty in the mill. I got authority in the field. Take a look in my iris. I be precise with the timing. I never know where my mind went.
Mercury Racing was forged in the heat of competition. The will to win is in our DNA. Competition isn't just what we do, it's our proving ground. It's about the pursuit of power, performance, and endurance that pushes our limits and yours. We create premium marine power to take you faster and farther. The world offers limits. Mercury Racing offers freedom. Live wide open.
It takes your breath away. That's how you can tell you found the perfect vacation.
It doesn't get any bigger.
A place that opens your eyes and your spirits.
It's a Kissimmee thing.
This is your getaway, your escape. Recharging, rediscovering, reconnecting.
Welcome to Kissimmee.
However you spin it, never forget what's at the heart. It's big and it's bold, day after day.
Welcome to Kissimmee, the big, bold heart of Florida.
The big, bold heart of Florida.
Let's make every day a beach day. Let's induce some serious vacation envy. Let's make it look like we've done this before. Let's reconnect. Let's get it fresh from the Gulf. Let's shine in St. Pete Clearwater. She won't remember her first word. She won't remember her first steps. But she'll never ever forget her first wave. Plan your trip at DaytonaBeach.com.
For over 60 years, ICOM has been your trusted companion, keeping you connected on the water, in the air, and on the ground. Whether you need a two-way radio for your cruiser, center console, personal watercraft, or anything in between, ICOM has you covered with the most innovative marine, amateur, aviation, land mobile, LTE, and satellite network products.
Insurance sucks, and we think so too. Why? Because traditional policies don't provide complete coverage, leaving you to deal with the holes and gaps. But not anymore. X Insurance's True Umbrella and True Homeowners are a true partner, covering any potential gaps and exclusions. With X Insurance's True Umbrella and True Homeowners policy, you will experience true insurance when compared to traditional policies. Contact us today or ask your agent about X Insurance.
It takes your breath away. That's how you can tell you found the perfect vacation.
It doesn't get any bigger.
A place that opens your eyes and your spirits.
It's a Kissimmee thing.
This is your getaway, your escape. Recharging, rediscovering, reconnecting.
Welcome to Kissimmee.
However you spin it, never forget what's at the heart. It's big and it's bold, day after day.
Welcome to Kissimmee, the big, bold heart of Florida.
The big, bold heart of Florida.
Welcome back to beautiful Sarasota, Florida, the 40th annual Sarasota Power Boat Grand Prix. We've wrapped up Class 1 qualifying. Thanks to Ken Stout for joining me. From this point on, it's going to be me for the rest of the afternoon, so I hope you get to enjoy it. Right now, 450 factory stock coming out. None of these boats are doing a parade lap today, so they're going to get lined up and get right to their start. That's Hank Saloon, Montlick Attorneys. There is Meade Family Racing. TS Motorsports is out here this weekend as well. We'll run through a quick lineup for 450. We have F66, 151 Express, Ian Morgan, and Nick Impressia. 32 GC Racing Team.